there's not much else to say about the Bradley Manning trial at this point, but for the fact that it was horribly undercovered by the media, though the media, time and time again, whether it was the print journalists or whether it was television, cited the material that he leaked time and time again in news stories. And this is relevant to the extent that when you look upon Bradley Manning and ask the question as to whether or not he was a whistleblower, was the information that he was disseminating of value to the American public, of import to the American public? Was it important for the American public to know the truth about these things? The fact that media organization after media organization after media organization presented this material in the context of news stories. And certainly they don't have a bias towards erring on the side of stuff that is maybe marginally informative when you're talking about hard news. The fact that it was cited, the materials that he leaked was cited time and time again in analysis of what is happening in Iraq, in analysis of what is happening in Afghanistan, in analysis into what United States foreign policy is. Over and over and over again. On many occasions, I sat on programs on MSNBC where the host or guest would say this information is completely irrelevant, and then the following week the host would be reading from information that came from those leaks, and without even an awareness that that's where it came from. Citing The Guardian, citing without an awareness that The Guardian or The Times or The Post or Der Spiegel or whatever it was had received this information via WikiLeaks from Bradley Manning's leaks. And so that speaks to his role, if not legally, because in the context of him being military personnel and the charges brought against him, but at least morally a whistleblower. And he certainly exposed crimes and lies being perpetrated by the U.S. government upon its own people. Or crimes, I should say, in the context of waging war, lies in the context of assessing what was happening in Iraq and Afghanistan. And frankly, I don't even know if the media did enough with that information. I would love to hear the justification of why it's in the United States tax dollars are going to lobby to make sure that the Haitian minimum wage is not raised. It's certainly relevant that the U.S. government, the Obama administration, was actively lobbying and pressuring European governments who were attempting to further torture trials against former U.S. officials, lobbying them hard, whether it was in Spain or in Germany. That seems quite relevant and somewhat ironic in the sense that the Obama administration came in with a complete turn-the-page mentality. There's no value in us looking back upon those who committed torture, those who developed a policy of torture, those who spied on this country illegally, without warrant, unequivocally illegally, with no debate illegally. The Obama administration had zero interest in pursuing any of that. Not just zero interest in pursuing any of it, was actively stopping and lobbying and threatening European governments that were beginning to pursue such investigations. And we know that from Bradley Manning's leaks. And in this case, he's the one who's going to go to jail. He is the one who's going to stay in prison for at least 8 years, potentially 30. It's an outrage. It's an outrage. And there is really just shockingly little justification for this. Those of you who are hoping for President Obama to in any way commute his sentence, good luck. I would not hold your breath. That's not going to happen. Maybe tomorrow we'll take a little time to review some of the things that Bradley Manning released. But, you know, it was assessments of what was going on in Iraq, assessments of what was going on in Afghanistan, civilian casualty numbers, which had been classified. Supposedly there was no count, we were told by the military. Apparently they did have a count. They just didn't want anybody to know what it was. I think it's of great value to the American public to know just how many innocent civilians you've killed with your tax dollars. Certainly people can disagree. I think they're completely wrong. Go ahead.
He also revealed how now I think maybe more is known about drones, but he was one of the first people that put any of that information on the map. He showed how places like the Yemeni government denied their approval of strikes we were conducting in Yemen publicly, even as they secretly supported it. A lot of things he exposed were really important. I don't think that there's like a single area from national security point of view that he didn't shed light on.
Yeah.
Not to mention all the Haiti, and also like going to bat for the pharmaceutical industry and mining interests, and just huge amount of information.
And to this day, the U.S. government has not proven one detrimental impact to our national security because of those leaks. Not one instance. Nothing. 35 years in prison. 35 years in prison after basically going through what is tantamount to torture in pretrial hearings. I mean, so make no mistake about it. There's no question about this being justice. This is pure, unadulterated intimidation. We're seeing it in the case of Bradley Manning. We're seeing it in the case of digital activists. We're seeing it in the case of journalists. And it's only those journalists whose bread is buttered very much by those that many think that journalism is supposed to be skeptical of, who are speaking out in defense of what the national security state is doing.